Hey everybody, it's Michael from Wahoo Comics here with another haul and speculation video. But today's video is going to end up being a lot different than I'd originally intended it to be. Because about a week and a half ago, I bought a bunch of books online that I was really looking forward to showing you that had a pretty cool story that went along with it. And they were supposed to arrive here this past Wednesday. But unfortunately, on Monday, a big snowstorm swept through central Virginia and knocked out our power. And so for the next 2 days, we were stuck in a freezing cold house without power, and the mail was delayed. And then it got so bad to a point where we felt like we just had to get out of here. And so we drove to my parents' home to stay until the power came back on. And so I had to put a hold on the mail. And so those comics that I was looking forward to showing you this week should come on Monday and will be part of my next video. But thankfully, finally, the power came back on yesterday, which was Friday. We're able to be back home. And so I wanted to put out something. And so I have a special thing I'll be showing off in just a minute. But the most frustrating thing I'll mention about the whole scenario from the past week was that back in November, I had a whole house generator installed to protect my family just from this very circumstance, because we do frequently lose power here. But the fuel company who was going to install the propane tank botched the installation multiple times, and so it wasn't ready. And it finally got hooked up yesterday, about an hour before the actual power came back on. And so I'm a pretty easygoing guy, but I have been pretty heated at that company. And so next week I'm going to have to talk to them and try to figure out what they can do. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I still put out a video this week, and so something I thought I would do with, of course, a lot of excitement about the upcoming Doctor Strange movie is to highlight some budget Doctor Strange books that I've picked up over the last few months that I just haven't had a chance to highlight in any of my videos yet. And so I thought this would be a good time to do it. And so let's get started. And we're going to start off with this one, Doctor Strange number 48. Now, all these Doctor Strange books I picked up earlier, probably for about $3 or $4, some even cheaper than that. And not all these are going to be as easy to find for that price at this point. A lot of them have gone up over the past couple of months, but especially if you can find them for $5 and under, I think these are great books to consider picking up. Even these first two especially, if you can find them for $20 or less by now, still something really to consider as an investment, but definitely cool just to have a part of a collection, even if you're not looking for an investment. So this is Doctor Strange 48. And this contains the first meeting of Doctor Strange and Brother Voodoo. And so there's a lot of speculation that Brother Voodoo is going to make an appearance in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie. Of course, in the comic books, he eventually becomes the Sorcerer Supreme at one point. And so some people think, well, at some point he's going to be in the MCU. And I personally do think he'll be in the MCU at some point, but I'm not sure that he's going to be in this upcoming movie. Because if you've been paying any attention, there's so many other characters that seem like they're going to be a part. I just don't see much room to fit in Brother Voodoo, at least in any kind of meaningful way. So I could see him like being like, the end credits scene, Doctor Strange is walking around somewhere, and then all of a sudden he runs into Brother Voodoo. Jericho Drum, I think is his real name. And everybody thought he's like, oh, cool, Brother Voodoo. Like, I can see something like that. And even if that happens, this book and obviously all the Brother Voodoo keys will pop in value. But I don't know even if that will happen. So, it depends. If you're looking for a quick flip, I'm not sure this is a great one to buy, unless, again, you can find it under $5. But eventually, I do think that encounter will happen. And so, if you're looking more long-term, I think this is certainly a safe book to pick up. Also, Doctor Strange number 60. And so this book contains this storyline where Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel and Hannibal King are fighting against Dracula and the Darkholders over the Darkhold. And if you saw WandaVision, you know that she's been studying the Darkhold. And so I don't know if this exact storyline is going to play out, but there's clearly going to be some Darkhold significance between the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange in some way, because she is going to be in that movie. So there's a lot of interest in this book because of that, because it does have Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Darkhold. Even if this exact story doesn't happen, just that this is kind of their first time working with that book has brought a lot of interest in this one. And there's also a growing interest in vampires and Dracula. We do know, of course, vampires are coming on some level, at the very minimum, in Blade. I personally think Dracula is coming sooner rather than later, perhaps even in Moon Knight, some people think. And so I think keys that involve both Dracula and just vampires in general are ones to consider picking up. And so that brings to the next book, as the storyline continues in Doctor Strange 61. And this book contains the origin of vampires and how they're actually linked to the Darkhold. And of course, has this pretty cool Doctor Strange Dracula cover as well. And so there's interest in this book for that reason. Again, if you think vampires or Darkhold are things to invest in, this is a great budget option. So Doctor Strange number 80. And if you saw my last video, my sleeper of the week was actually Doctor Strange 81, which contained the first full appearance of Rintrah, who's this Minotaur-like character who becomes an apprentice of Doctor Strange. And there's been rumors that he's going to be in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie. And then he actually has a figure in the toy line for that movie. And it seems like he was part of the trailer. And so I think it's a pretty safe bet. And so 81 is really the book to get if you can find that, the one I highlighted last week. But it's definitely harder to get at a decent price now. And so if you're interested in that character, kind of the next best thing would be this book, number 80, which contains Rintrah's first cameo appearance. All right, I also got Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme number 1. This doesn't have any significance other than it's just a number 1 of a Doctor Strange title. So I think this was the third Doctor Strange title. And it also contains this really cool cover I like of Doctor Strange and Dormammu. I like it. And so it's a nice one to pick up, again, if you can get it for $5 or under. And one other from that series is this one, Doctor Strange number 10, which contains the first appearance of Victor Strange, who's the brother of Doctor Strange and who later becomes a vampire named Baron Blood. And so it's pretty interesting. I didn't know this until recently. Doctor Strange and vampires really have a real history of connection in the Marvel comics. And so it'll be really interesting to see if that plays out in the MCU at some point. All right, those are the Doctor Strange books I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show a few other cheap keys that I found over the last couple of months. There's Marvel Comics Presents number 14. This contains the first appearance of Ramonda, who is the mother of T'Challa, who was in the Wakanda movie and will certainly be in the next Wakanda movie. And the Black Panther movie and the upcoming Wakanda movie. And I've been surprised that this book hasn't really popped. I mean, her role certainly was minor in that movie, but she was there. So I thought there'd be more interest in this book than there is. But if she has a bigger role in the upcoming Wakanda movie, and of course, there's a lot of questions to ask since we don't know even who Black Panther is going to be or what's going to happen because of Chadwick Boseman's unfortunate passing. And so if she becomes a bigger character, this book could really climb a lot in value. But even if not, it's a book you can probably find for $1 or $2, and just a neat one to have in your collection because of that. There's also Machine Man, number 2 from the 80s limited series. And this contains the first appearance of Arno Stark, who ends up becoming Iron Man 2020. And I remember as a kid knowing of that character, who's kind of a villain. And, it was the early 90s. and 2020 seems so far away, and he has this really futuristic version of Iron Man that was presented, and now, of course, we're past 2020, and I feel really old because of that. And if you're reading modern comics, I thought it was really interesting. When we actually got to 2020, they actually introduced Arno as a character again, and really developed his story as being the Iron Man 2020, and they had to retcon it. No longer was it like the grandson of Tony Stark, but it was his brother. And it's a pretty cool storyline, and I liked that character in that storyline, and so I'm really glad to get his first appearance. And who knows, maybe he pops in the Ironheart show or something like that. Maybe not. I'm not banking on that, but this is probably a book that you can find for $1 or $2 again, and so just a neat one to pick up. And that will bring me to my sleeper of the week, and we're going to hop over to DC for that. And this is Brave New World #1, and this contains the first appearance of Ryan Choi, who becomes the fourth Atom. And so eventually, I think there's a good chance that DC Marvel Universe starts introducing movie universe introduces some characters like Atom, and who knows which version it's going to be. But especially if they're looking to develop a more diverse cast, which a lot of the Marvel certainly is, and so maybe DC will do that. Maybe you see Ryan Choi. And I think that character even might have had a cameo, not as the Atom, but as a scientist. I've got to remember that, like in Justice League or something like that. But anyway, this is his first appearance, one you can find for probably pretty cheap, and a decent one to pick up. All right, so that brings me to my question of the week, and going back to Doctor Strange. Of course, there's rumors of lots of characters that are going to be in that movie. And certainly Doctor Strange is going to be exploring the multiverse. And so it seems like a high likelihood that he's just going to drop in a lot of different universes and have a lot of cameos of certain characters. And so I'm curious, who do you want to see at least have a cameo in that movie? Maybe it's from a past Marvel property that might be rebooted, like the X-Men or Fantastic Four, or maybe it's someone who hasn't even been seen in any type of movie property at all. Who do you want to see? I think I would most mark out for and get excited about if we saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And I think there's a pretty decent chance that will happen. Again, just as a cameo. And if it does in the theater, I'm going to have the same reaction I did when there were some Spider-Man reveals. I won't say anything in case you haven't seen the movie, but there were a couple of moments where there were some cool nods to previous movies where I definitely marked out. And so I'll do that if I see Hugh Jackman. But what about you? Who would you like to see in the Doctor Strange movie? All right, well, that's going to bring us close to the end of this video. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you consider doing so. We got to 150 subscribers this past week, which is a milestone, and so now we're on the march to 200. And if for no other reason, just say, oh, well, Michael put out this video, even though he didn't have any power all week. He just deserves to be subscribed to. Have some pity on me. Make my week better. Subscribe to the channel. Comment, even if you don't usually comment again. Make me feel better from the hardships I faced this past week. Like the video. All those things, of course, that help the channel out. All right, I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I enjoyed making it, and look forward to the next one where I will be able to show off the books that I had been planning to show you this week. And I've got a couple of cool ones, so look forward to the video a week from today. Thanks, guys, and see you soon.